Hey guys, what's up? You're watching Clique, and today we're going to be looking at my personal favorite main mouse that I'm using right now, and I'm going to tell you guys some of the things I like about this mouse and why it is my main mouse, and some of the things that I don't like about this mouse and why it's still not my end game or why it's not my perfect ideal mouse. So as you guys probably know, over the past months that I've been doing my channel, I've been, adding more mice to my collection. So some of the things that I don't like about this mouse are definitely more nitpicky, and there's also just going to be a lot of preference here. This isn't like a definitive like this is the best mouse, that's why I use it. There are definitely more technically sound and better mice than this, but this is just my personal favorite mouse, and it's one that I've actually picked up recently, and it's a mouse that I've been anticipating for such a long time now. And yes, this is my current main mouse, the Wolves Hati S Wireless. I've been waiting for this mouse for a long time. It's been highly anticipated for me and for a ton of people, and it's gotten mostly positive reception so far, with a couple of minor issues that people have had, but overall the reception has been really good, and I also kind of agree with that. So let's just get into it. The first thing that makes me really like this mouse and have me use it as my main is the shape. If you've been into mice reviews or just like the gaming mice hobby in general, you've probably heard this phrase at least once: shape is king. This is no exception. This mouse is perfect for me. My hands are 17 by 9 centimeters, which I would say is definitely on the smaller side of hands. And this mouse, like the name implies, is a smaller version of the Hati, also wireless of course, but we'll get to that in a bit. The shape is just really good. It's kind of like, I've seen some people compare it to like a smaller G Pro wireless. I completely agree with that. Although the shape is a little bit different, as far as just the overall shape, it feels perfect in my hand. I do use a fingertip grip, but I could also use this mouse in a claw grip as well. Really, for palm grip, it wouldn't work just because the mouse is so small. Like, even with my small hands, like, it's already going over the entire mouse. My fingers would be kind of hanging off the edge, and it just feels really natural. And not only the shape of the mouse feels good, but also just the points of contact where my fingers resting on the mouse feels really natural, and the side buttons also play into that. They're a little bit higher than I would have liked, but it doesn't bother me at all. So the position of the side buttons are decent. They could be better, but that's something that wouldn't stop me from using this mouse. And that's pretty much the main thing as far as the shape. It just feels really good. It's a smaller shape. I do tend to like smaller mice since I have smaller hands, and the Hati S Wireless just does a great job of feeling small but not too small, and feeling light but not too light. Which brings me to my second point, which is the weight. The Hati S Wireless comes in at just about 58, 59, 60-ish grams, depending. There's a plus minus 3 variants, but mine's is about 59 grams. With the additional skins that I added, it comes into about 61 grams. These are the included skins that come in for the Hati S Wireless. They're really good. Holes usually never bother me on a mouse, like having holes on the sides of the mouse. I think it's great because you can cut out additional weight, but I noticed it wasn't uncomfortable, it just wasn't, comfortable. It was like in the middle, and I've never put skins on the mouse, but after I saw Too Much Tech do it and how sick it looked, I decided why not? Let's go put the skins on this mouse. Aesthetically, this makes it look so much better, and it kind of continues that matte black design with the white paint splatter on the sides of the mouse, because if you don't have the skins on, it just shows holes, no design on the sides, and that would have been tricky to do, so that makes sense. But with the added skins, it's kind of like you can get the design on all angles of the mouse. It just makes it look really cool, sick, and it kind of gives you like a grippy feeling on the side that I actually prefer over just the stock feeling that you get on a mouse with holes on the sides. So it's just overall really great. Weight is awesome. It's at that 60 gram mark, so not too super light. It is like, we are seeing more mice starting to go even lighter in the lightweight section. Lightweight used to be defined as like, under 70 grams, I think, like with the Model O, when that first launched, it was like 67 grams, super lightweight. Everyone was crazy about it. Now we've been getting even more mice even lower than that, like with the Pulsar Haze coming in at 59 grams. That's a newer mouse. We're getting the Hati S wireless mice coming at 60 grams, like the G Pro X Superlight, and just even more and more mice getting even lower in weight, which I think is amazing. And since this isn't not uncomfortably light, but like, extremely light, like we've seen on mice like the G Wolves HSK, which has been even below 40 grams, which that's just absolutely nuts. Or like the new final mouse that's going to come out that's supposed to be 37 grams, I believe. That would be insanely light, and that would take a little bit getting used to. And my previous main before this mouse, which was a wired mouse, was the Pulsar Haze, which was, like I said, 59 grams. This makes me feel right at home, and it feels even more comfortable because it's smaller, and of course wireless, so no cable drag, no issues with that. Which brings me to my third point, which is yes, the third reason why I use the Hati S Wireless and why it's my main mouse is that it's wireless. I've had wireless mice and I still prefer the wired mouse. I had the Model O wireless and I also had the SteelSeries Aerox 3 wireless. And it's funny because I remember when I first got my Model O wireless, I was like, oh, this is about to be my main mouse. You know, it's my first wireless gaming mouse that's going to be really good, you know, like a more modern wireless gaming mouse. Not, you know, like a G305 or anything like that. I was like, this is going to be my main mouse for sure. And I realized, like I said in my first original point, shape is king. And even the Model O wireless, the regular Model O, for my hands, it just feels a little bit too big. And it just wasn't, you know, comfortable for me as something like a Hati S would be. Even a wired Hati S, I prefer that over a wireless Model O just because of the shape. The shape, if it's not comfortable to hold in your hand, you're not going to want to game with it and you're not going to feel your best. So that happened with the Model O wireless. Then when I got the Aerox 3 wireless, there was some build quality performance issues. The feet weren't great, the scroll wheel wasn't great, and the side buttons were razor thin. The position of them were even higher than I think they were on the Hati S wireless. It really just didn't work out for me. So even though having wireless is a plus, if the overall mouse just doesn't work for you, then it doesn't matter if it's wireless or not. It's not going to matter if it's just not comfortable for you. And the Hati S Wireless brings the combination of shape, lightweight, and wireless all into one to make it perfect for me. So those are the first three reasons of why, you know, from a functionality standpoint, why the Hati S Wireless is my main mouse right now and why I like it so much. The fourth reason why I really like the Hati S Wireless is the design and aesthetic. You know, when it comes to design, I would consider myself to like more minimalistic things. I don't like to go all out. As you can see from my channel logo, it's literally just an icon of something being clicked with like a generic background. And I do consider myself to like that kind of stuff, you know, kind of basic, simple stuff. And I feel like they did that perfectly here. You know, a clean map-like design with the white paint splatter, and this is a great example of less is more. And they really just didn't do too much with it, you know, kept it simple, 2 colors, black and white, kept it simple, and I really like it. And then with adding those additional skins, like I said, on the sides, which I wasn't a fan of previously, but they made it look good, and from, you know, an aesthetic standpoint it looks good, but also from a functionality standpoint gives me additional grip on the side without adding more than 1 or 2 grams, which really isn't gonna be noticeable to me. They even put Hati on the side of the mouse, which is awesome. I just think it's cool to have like their design, since they always do, you know, Wolves always does a great job with designing their products and giving a great unboxing experience. So I think this kind of like adds on to that and shows off a little bit more flair without doing too much as far as like overloading the design. So I think they just did a great job with that, and I really just love the look and design of this mouse. And now moving on to a couple of things that I don't like about this mouse and why it's not my perfect, you know, end game mouse, or why it's not, you know, my ideal perfect mouse. Now, something that I'm going to mention right now is that while yes, Wolves has addressed some of these issues that I'm going to be saying, I supported them. I pre-ordered the mouse, paid my $100, so I'm gonna rate this mouse as it is. And you know, even though there will be future iterations coming that will improve and fix some of these issues that I'm saying right now, this is the current latest version of the Hati S Wireless. So maybe if they do make like a version 2 sort of thing, I might consider picking that up, since I just do like this mouse so much and I think they did a great job with it. There are some things that I'm gonna nitpick and just say right now that will probably be fixed in a future version of the Hati S Wireless. So first, of course, the dongle, the main thing people have been kind of clowning Wolves for. I remember when I first saw this, I was even like, yo, like, this is why I'm getting low ping in Valorant right now. Like, this is why I'm getting 2 MS, because I got an additional Wi-Fi tower to go with the mouse. Like, this is this was just laughable. And like, obviously people made their jokes and stuff, and they were funny, but no, this was just like, I don't know what was the thought process behind adding something like this. I definitely think that this is something that needs to be improved on. It just takes up too much space. It looks clunky. It looks like you're trying to hack into the mainframe or something with this. We've had smaller dongles than this that give us great connection, and this is something that definitely took off a few points, if you will, from like me being like, wow, this is a perfect mouse. And even though this doesn't have to do anything with the mouse itself, it's a necessity that makes the wireless functionality work. So I'm gonna take points off for that, because without this, there is no wireless on this mouse. Second is the sensor. The Hati S Wireless uses the Pixar 3335 sensor, I believe, which a lot of people were confused why they weren't using the newer 3370 sensor that we've been seeing used on more and more mice, like the recent Pulsar X Lite mouse that we've seen, and a couple of other newer mice that just been using that optimized sensor. If you don't know, the 3370 is essentially an upgraded version of the 3389 sensor, and you know, don't quote me on this, I'm sure there are other small technical differences. Supposedly it's a technically improved version of like a 3389 sensor, an even smaller percentage error on the tracking accuracy or something along those lines. So you know, it's supposed to be a better version, so a lot of people were confused why they weren't using, you know, the most optimal sensor. Was it to bring the price down? Who knows? The mouse already cost $100, and while there are more expensive mice than this, add the couple extra bucks, give us the best sensor we can get to date, and remove any doubt of any inconsistencies or tracking errors or any spin out or any type of issues you'll typically get with the sensor, especially with LOD. That's been one of the main concerns that I've been seeing a lot, and I can say for me, I'm not typically sensitive to a high LOD and it hasn't really bothered me, but I did notice like I can pick up the mouse just the tiniest bit and still get some movement. So I definitely would like to see the 3370 sensor implemented on the version 2 or just like an updated version of the Hati S Wireless. And I've actually had spin out with this mouse one time, and it's weird because I've never had spin out with any mice with a 3360 or a 3389, you know, the more modern sensors that we've had. I've never had spin out, never once. Between the Model O Wireless, the Model O Wired, the Cooler Master MM711, Pulsefire Haste, the Viper Mini, the Viper 8K, so many other mice that I've used, right? I've never had any spin out ever, and this is the first mouse that I had spin out with. And I wasn't recording when it happened, but I just remember I was so confused. Also recently I saw a clip of a G Pro wireless spinning out with like someone was hitting a really hard flick. That stuff still happens, but you know, it is more rare with these better sensors. So I'll just say this sensor definitely didn't leave a good first impression for me. Moving on to the third thing on the list is the side button placement. And yes, while the side buttons aren't necessarily in a bad position, I wish they were just a little bit lower on the mouse. I like when my thumb naturally rests where these side buttons are. The side buttons are a little bit over my thumb, so I'll have to like move my thumb up to hit the buttons. Not a deal breaker in any way. As for the actual clicks themselves, the clicks on this mouse are great. I believe they use the Kale GM 8.0 switches, and those are absolutely fantastic. So great job to G-Wolves on that. Scroll wheel on here is also pretty great. Not super muddy or draggy, and not also like super, you know, light. A good middle balance. You know, you get the tactility, you get a textured scroll wheel. It feels good. There's no rattle, there's no looseness. And the next thing is going to be the creaking and flexing. In regular use, like I said with a lot of these things, I would not notice this. It will not bother me. If I press the top and bottom of the mouse, you can definitely get some creaking, some presses in there, DPI actuation, pressing on the sides a little bit. You can actuate the side buttons. This definitely could be improved upon. We've seen plenty of mice that don't have creaking and flexing, and I'm not saying it's easy to do this, but it's something that I would like to see them improve upon and just make better in an updated version. And the final last thing that I want to say, as far as like another small issue, LOD adjustment within the software. I thought that there would be some, but I couldn't find any. You know, I thought it'd maybe be on the mouse somewhere, but I don't see any control for LOD on the mouse. So just giving us that option of LOD and also telling us how many millimeters of LOD distance is there. With this less technically a great sensor than something like, you know, a 3389 or like a 3370, and I just want to see them, you know, add that support, add the LOD distance so I can see, am I getting 1 millimeter of liftoff distance? Is it 2? And that, guys, is gonna wrap up my personal favorite main mouse that I'm using right now, and those are some of the reasons why I love this mouse and some of the reasons why this mouse still isn't perfect for me. You guys know I'm gonna try to keep it real with you guys, and yes, I'm still gonna be using this mouse until something better comes along. If I do change my main mouse, usually in my channel about section, I'll say something, or on my Twitter and my Instagram, if you guys want to go follow those. I usually do give updates on like what I'm using, my current setup and stuff, and hopefully G-Wolves does fix some of those issues. I've already seen them talking about fixing the dongle issue and upgrading the sensor in the future, so that'd be amazing. And if they can keep the price relatively the same, then I don't think I'd mind buying an updated version, as long as, you know, they're making it worth updating. Either that, or hopefully, which I'm very doubtful of, Logitech decides to make a G Pro X Super Light Mini. I doubt that's gonna happen, but if for some reason it does happen, or maybe Endgame Gear finally gives us a mini wireless version of the XM1, that could possibly overtake this mouse, because I know build quality wise and just, you know, the sensor they're gonna use is gonna be better than this mouse, but we'd have to see as far as the shape and the lightweight and some of those other factors if they're up to par with what I like so much in the Hati S Wireless. Anyways guys, I think that's gonna wrap up the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys give it a like, since it really does help with the channel. And if you're new here, I make all types of content on gaming tech, so if you're interested in this type of content, consider checking out the channel and subscribing. And if you guys haven't already, make sure you follow me on all my socials: Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. I'll put links to those down below in the description, and I'll probably pop up a couple of them on screen right now. And like always, you guys are awesome. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.